This terror wears in us. Our courage never melts. Draw water from my well. I'm purified. Burning on my brain, it's chemical. Never been afraid, I'm terrified now. I use the fear as an antidote. Gotta raise my blade up, gotta raise a break the fetters and the chains. I see my mind's eye blind to the days. Take what they never give away. I find the peace at the price of the pain. Dead eyes go blind in a million sockets. This life's unkind and she's killing the softest. Can't sleep at night cause the voices are talking about something I wrote. I'm clutching my throat, gasping for air. I won't choke, I can't bleed, I can't die, I won't scream if I lose everything. Don't follow the flesh, approve of the crypt. A bloody knuckle till I break out the sarcophagus. This terror wears in us. Our courage never melts. Draw water from my well. I'm purified. Burning on my brain, it's chemical. Never been afraid, I'm terrified.
This feels strange. It's like we're in the same space we've been in for a couple different weeks now, and the same audience keeps coming back to see us. And yet, nothing's changed. Welcome, everyone here at BC WrestlePod Land, to the Ring of Honor review, the Bro. We are back on a Friday, reviewing Thursday nights. Oh, Andrew's giving us some sort of fun open mouth thing. I don't know what that was. It just drew my eye for some reason. We are here with Mikey, with Andrew, with Jesse, the Phantom Stranger, and myself, JVL, to talk through episode 75 of Ring of Honor on Honor Club. We're counting down the days till it becomes AEW Ring of Honor, and then we have to start all over at one again, because just like comics, they're just going to keep rebooting the series and getting a new number one, and it's going to drag people down with everything else about this. Guys, I got to ask, we had a lot of thoughts after Death Before Dishonor, and we had a lot of thoughts about where this could go. Do we feel, before we get into any specifics, like the non-change of venue and the taping schedule now may have benefited this show, or did it feel just the same as it had been leading up to Death Before Dishonor? Yeah? Jesse, you are so muted. I don't know exactly what you're saying.
I said, I feel like this, now I've completely lost my train of thought. We're so professional here. I feel like this episode has been much better than the past few weeks. I actually found myself, regardless of the fact that I'm not a big fan, I had myself having fun watching this. Like, I was amused by a few things. So, yeah, I was a little bit surprised. I'm also like, I'm thinking, okay, is this kind of turning into tryouts? Everyone needs to do really well since it's going to be ROH by AEW, and then there's definitely going to be cuts coming with that.
We don't know. Andrew, Mikey, thoughts on it?
There were some really good spots in this. There were a couple of matches that I thought were really good. There was some other stuff that I didn't think was so great. It's hard to tell if this was a surprisingly good show or if this was just good by comparison to what we've previously gotten.
That's fair. It's almost like we have to see if it has they call it the bad movie syndrome, where it's the relief once you get out of the theater. Although the movie's not that bad because you finally are out of there, not facing it anymore.
Mikey, any thoughts?
I actually like
smooth brain.
Right. I like this episode a lot. There were some things that have been missing for the last couple of weeks that I feel that they're starting to get to. Obviously, this is just one show after Death Before Dishonor, and we still have the next couple weeks to go. So I have to wait until then to kind of figure out whether I think this is going in the direction we hope. But I had a lot of fun with this episode. Now, there were some things that I have questions on, and we'll get to those. But there were some things for me personally I felt that were missing leading into Death Before Dishonor. I was like, all right, we're showing science here. So we'll see where this goes in the next couple of weeks.
Talk about seeing where things go, seeing how things could evolve. We jump into our first match, and I think this is best described in our group text as we were all watching this, going, "Wow, this is rough from a lot of different angles." But when you make Jack Jameson look good, Marshall, you got some room to grow. We had Dustin Rhodes and the Von Erichs defending their 6-man tag titles against the Iron Savages and Jack Jameson. Starting Andrew, do you feel like Jack Jameson has run his course, or that in general, like, we just need to give him more time to season up as a heel? Because he seems to be lost in my eyes.
Honestly, I mean, I think Jack Jameson is just the rougher of all three of the Iron Savages. I feel like they're kind of lost, and the comedy heel thing is really it's like they're kind of on the fence of where they're going. Jack Jameson obviously just has far less experience, because there's just some of the comedy stuff that they were doing that I was just like, yeah, it's just not funny, especially anymore, because it's the same stuff we've been seeing. I'd rather see them as monster heels. Let them just like throw people around and be angry and stop with the whole like gym bro thing that they're doing. But I think he definitely needs some time. I see some stuff that he could improve over time. And I think as a part of this trios, especially if they continue to get, experience working as a trios, the other two are so good that there's a lot of things they can do to compensate for his, inexperience.
Jesse, do you feel like Jack Jameson has become more of the road dog of the group and just kind of like is there as they need him, or could evolve into something better going forward with more time, more effort put in?
I wish I had more data on Jack Jameson, where he was before he started being a regular and where he is now, because from what I'm seeing from when I first saw him, when he was on the mic and he was a mouthpiece and he was fine doing that, till they started incorporating him in matches, he hasn't gotten any better. So I don't know if he's the road dog spot, but he's definitely the liability spot. And that concerns me because it doesn't seem like he's improving as he needs to.
It's kind of holding them back in that respect. And Mikey, we got Dustin Rhodes, the Von Erichs again. They are our champions at this point. Do we feel like this is going to be a short-term thing until they're done with the Texas tapings, or do we feel like this is going to be something that'll carry them through even a month more?
I honestly don't see them holding it more than maybe a month per se. I think that we'll get a couple of weeks. Oh, who knows? They might prove me wrong and let them hold on to it for a while. But at least while they're in Texas, they're not going to be losing these titles anytime soon. But yeah, this match was
mediocre at best. There were a lot of interesting spots that we got back and forth. The triple kind of like Vader bomb on the back of the person there. You had a couple of good comedy spots, but I think what was put best here is that just these two teams need more time and need to figure out who they are, because what they're doing is not working for them at this point. Yes, Andrew.
I will say, while I'm not a huge fan of the the city call out spot that we're basically getting from this, comedians and bands do, where they just call out the city name to get a big pop. We're basically just having these three be the champions because they're Texas folk. I am very happy that it looks like because they're banking on that, it means we're actually going to have these titles appearing on Ring of Honor. So, it's kind of a blessing in that regard, I guess.
You were about to say, Jesse.
I was about to say one of the first things that I had written down was, are they having these titles because they're in Texas, and how long are they going to have them? So the fact that I'm not the only one who thought that shows that we're kind of all like-minded in that regard in some things. But about the match, yeah, it was mediocre, but I enjoyed it. There wasn't anything that was like, oh, I completely wasted my time watching this like some other match in the past. I kind of enjoyed this one, and it did get a laugh out of me when Bronson went to do the push-up spot on the apron and fell off like that. I didn't expect it, so that made me laugh. That's like the theater of the absurd I enjoy.
Someone hurts themselves, man gets, football to groin, that type of thing. We all know how it works with Jesse. We move on from our first match to our first promo of the evening, which is a post-Death Before Dishonor promo. I'm going to ask it out straight. Did any of you catch the logic behind what Mark Briscoe was talking about? Was there a through line to this promo, or was it just him rambling in his coke?
Was there logic? I didn't catch it if it existed.
I mean, it's the same thing that Briscoe says in his promos, especially when it comes to retaining his titles. The legacy, he's going to keep doing the thing. The only real key difference is he was holding the new member of the conglomeration in Baby J.
Yeah, right, exactly. Bloody as hell, holding them onto it. It's the Mark Briscoe time there. As a father, Andrew, do you feel like being that bloody and holding on to your infant child was probably the safest thing for him, hepatitis wise, or just like you should have left it alone?
I mean, it's he's Mark's son. It's gonna be that. That's probably not the first time or the last. Yeah. I mean, I feel like at this point, I don't want to sound like a Scrooge in this regard, but I feel like we're banking so many things, especially in ROH and in AEW, on like kind of nostalgia and like, this emotional tie into things. And for a lot of the things, especially when it comes to Mark Briscoe, it's getting to a point where I'm like, I need more to be invested than just the hard times.
I mean, he's giving you his baby now. You have a whole new baby to be involved with.
Baby J is great. But I wonder what's going to happen, though, because he was the cause of a certain loss on Dynamite this week, which I was really wild. I was like, wow, they actually pinned him. That's crazy.
It's on Dynamite. The ROH champion always gets pinned because it's ROH. Not surprising there. There was a surprise return, though, in our next match. For those of us that have been watching AEW Dark or ROH in general, we had Top Flight with their new air hostess, Layla Gray, versus Ace of Space Academy in their squash match. And I don't know. Like, I don't know if I missed Action Andretti, but did any of you feel like this is a cool addition to have some way to kind of like counter the infantry or others that have those female members of the stable?
Oh, absolutely. I love this. Only because, too, it allows Layla on television. I've been missing some Layla Gray on my TV screen for ROH TV.
About a year since she's been on.
She was on a couple weeks ago, wasn't she? In a squash match? Probably.
I don't know.
But I'm happy to have her team up with this.
Jesse, Andrew, how are you feeling about this grouping?
Yeah, I mean, like Mikey said, I like when, especially if we're going to start forming more factions and alliances and stuff like that, I like when they start bringing in other people and, a predominantly male faction group or whatever, bringing in a woman or women or whatever. It just enables them to not only branch out, but also give more screen time and more action to people who may be kind of getting lost in the shuffle. I like how it fits with their gimmick and everything. It'll be interesting to see how it all plays out.
Jesse, did you feel like she was a little forced at the end where she was throwing the Top Flight symbol and while the other two had won at that point?
A little, yeah. It seemed like you're trying to I'm with this group now, so let me ram it down your throat, which is, I mean, sometimes I like to be spoon fed, but not like that. I was happy to see her. I'll say that for a fact. But speaking of the match itself, the match did nothing for me.
Typical squash match, high flying antics from the Martin brothers. Basically what you expected, which set up our promo afterwards, because the infantry then got to talk about the fact that while they love Top Flight and they got to like talk about it in Layla Gray, they were still wanting their shot. I wanted to ask Andrew this specifically because you're kind of our group's manager here. When they were referring to Layla Gray and how cool it is to have her, I love her, I wanted to bring her in here. They have Trisha Dora standing right there, right? Like, was the reaction called for? Or like, I think Trish should have been a little bit more off-put, a little bit myself, but
she definitely gave a look, to Carly Bravo when he said that. Though the way he was saying it was like he had some other interests for bringing her into the group.
I picked up on that too.
Yeah. So I think they could use it wisely if they set up, now there's some action between the tag teams. Maybe we'll get some showdown between Trish and Layla. So we could use this all as kind of kindling to build this up. It's just a matter of if they'll actually follow through with those storytelling threads or not. I will say about the match beforehand, I was happy that we actually had a tag team and not just two random local talent thrown together.
Oh yeah.
So those two things, that and this promo, do give me some more hope for what we could build for the Ring of Honor tag division, because as we've talked about before, there's a lot of really good tag teams in Ring of Honor.
And Mikey, we know that Andrews had hope for this before about a year ago, and it kind of went nowhere. So we're hoping for his sake that it does that. But do you also feel like this is kind of strange to pit the two main tag teams of color against each other? It seems like there was like a bit of that rub as well, which was kind of strange to me, at least that I picked up on.
I mean, in one perspective, I can see it, but I think that's not necessarily the thing. And what I am happy is they need to accentuate this aspect that I'm going to talk about right now a little bit better. But it seems that it's like old guard versus new guard. The infantry have been here for quite some time in ROH. And, I kind of had to go with the boys on this one. It's just like Top Flight on Dynamite, Top Flight on Collision. Dante's on Rampage sometimes. And now they're in ROH down here. And while they didn't necessarily say they did say it. It's just like, I kind of don't like that they're getting all these free shots when they haven't been here. I was like, see, this is compelling storytelling to me because, it's also kind of facts. Now, on the other hand, though, I kind of agree with the infantry, but I also don't, in the sense it's like, yes, they're on television, but granted, because either one or both of them have been injured, but within the 5 years that AEW has been a thing, they have yet to hold any type of championship gold, whether it be tag team or singles wise. And honestly, kind of putting Top Flight here in ROH, I think is good because there's a chance for them to do that while also being able to work with some pretty fantastic tag teams. But I like that the infantry has this kind of chip on their shoulder against Top Flight that, we're here doing our thing. We're working hard. And Top Flight just walks in and they're getting these matches and these chances. So that sets up some really fun storytelling if they choose to capitalize on it.
Jesse, coming to you, if they don't go up against the Undisputed Kingdom right away, who would you book the infantry in next if you wanted to actually put them up against someone to build a good feud going in forward?
I'd like to see, if they're not going with Top Flight next, then I'd like to see him go against the Outrunners. Just because we started that feud and didn't go anywhere with it. And it's like, I have a compulsive need for closure. Let's do something with it.
Kind of like Turbo Floyd does as well. He's compulsively needing to close. If you watch the RJ City interview, you'll understand what I'm talking about there. However, we jump from there to another squash match, but this one also, I don't know about you guys, I was excited for this because, not because of who all was there, that Jesse's favorite, Robin Renegade, being in it. But we all saw Maya World do it was a prove it match, basically. One of the matches against Athena about 6 months ago when they were back in Texas, and I was excited to see her back on our screens. Do you feel like she has grown as a performer to be able to take it like this with Robin, or was this kind of the same standard she had been at, and they weren't using her to her full ability?
I mean, for me, it's hard to tell because I haven't seen too much of her. I think so far I've only seen. I think she only had 3 matches in Aid or in Ring of Honor.
Yeah,
It's
about
not
four.
like that.
So that's pretty much all I've seen. I will say this was the most impressive that I've seen her look. She pulled out some moves that really surprised me, and this was, while it was a squash match, Maya World got some really good offense and some counters and things like that in there. And I was super excited because Robin, obviously got the win in this case. But I thought it was good with the time that they had, though there's some space that I think we could have got rid of something else and given this actual time.
Yeah, definitely. Jesse, as the resident renegade and Stan that we have in our group, was it fun to watch Robin have her music played twice, both at the beginning and at the end of the match?
I realized as I'm sitting here, it just kind of I'm surprised I didn't see the light bulb go off in my head. I realized why I had fun tonight. It's Robin Renegade actually won. I was so excited. And when she won, I felt like there's a very obscure reference, but Christopher Eccleston's Doctor Who in the episode with they've got the gas mask from World War I. He's justice once everybody lives. Justice once Robin wins. And I was so excited. I was beyond myself. So I barely even pay attention to Maya World. She did great, which was, fantastic for her, but I was so happy to see Robin get a win.
Mikey, being the person that knows the most about Maya's kind of like tenure before this and where she's been, how did you feel about putting her in this position going into this big taping run?
So I have the opposite problem of Andrew, where because I also cover the dynamites and the collisions and the rampages, Maya homegirl has been running through the last couple of weeks. So to kind of go alongside what Andrew was answering, I think Maya has definitely grown a lot. And I mean, she's been able to go up against some pretty good people the last couple weeks. Literally last week, she fought Thunder Rosa, and that was pretty good. So I was just like, man, Maya was great. But I'm going to echo what Jesse said here. I love two things I loved about this match. Even though it's a squash match, there were two things that I love that make me did not mind it. Number one, the fact that Robin is winning. So that's always a plus. But I think the more important part, and this is just how my weird little brain works, is the fact that Ian and Caprice made sure to tell us that last time we saw Robin, she did pretty well in the triple threat that she had that included Taya Valkyrie and Trish Adora. Yeah, Trish in that triple threat. And I was just like, oh, yeah, see what happens when you're, have continuity with matches that happen on ROH television? Go figure. But nah, I can never be mad at Ian Caprice. They might lie to me sometimes, but I can never stay mad at them. So good job, Ian and Caprice, for having that continuity.
Well, that's commentary, which they're going to lie to you, and they're going to lie. They have
right.
To at some point.
As we go along the next couple of weeks, I just hope that we start pushing Robin into something. If she feels like to have a small little feud with somebody, I don't know, like we'll figure it out. But it was nice to see Robin win. And so those were my thoughts.
I want to see Robin against Red Velvet.
Oh, that'd be a fun little program.
I want to see Robin against Charlotte. Anyway, that's going to be down the road. I got to ask a big question about this next point, because we had a promo from someone who is not necessarily known for his promos. And instead of where's the beef, who's the beef? Do we know who beef is? Like, did I miss something here?
He's been in Ring of Honor before.
It's his cousin by marriage. Second cousin.
He's been in Ring of Honor before.
Okay. So I did my fact searching.
Who's the beef?
Okay. So here's what I could dig up. So Beef, his actual in-ring performer name, he's one of the many people that is signed to MLW. So he's in MLW and now he's over here. I didn't recognize him at first because he slimmed down a little bit. I was just like, because he was a lot bigger before. So
right.
That is where Beef comes from. He is Gnarls Gavin from MLW.
Gnarls Gavin. Okay. I mean, we can't really go into much until we go into the match that happened with him involved in it. But do you think they're trying to have him fill the JD Drake role in a certain way because they need a big guy that can be doing that, but he's a better talker than him anyways.
I think he's supposed to be the fill-in for JD Drake, but also supposed to feel like he's the fill-in for JD Drake. Like, it doesn't feel like they're trying to like get it past us.
Mm-hmm.
Like he's the like goofy trying to fill in the spot that he's really not going to fill. And I remember where I've seen him before too. I believe he's wrestled in GCW at least once, and I think I saw him in one of the first matches that I'd seen in GCW. Yeah, I mean, I thought this whole program was interesting. You know, the promo into the match and all that kind of stuff to see where they're going. I had some thoughts, especially after the match.
Yeah, second promo too.
Yeah, so, but it definitely seems like that's where they're going. Is like, hey, we need another guy to go with Anthony Henry.
Griff Garrison didn't work out for him apparently. Okay. I want to jump to my actual match of the night, which is next. This match was, for me, so much fun to watch. We took the Beast Mortos ripping AR Fox apart. So happy to see AR Fox on our TV screens, ostensibly.
Coming to the channel.
Oh, yes. And also working a style that he talked about in his interview with us as well, where he very much dug back into his backyard wrestling bag of tricks to take on Mortos. Jesse, sitting here seeing a luchador actually be treated in a correct way and having a good match with someone, do you feel like this is a good way to get Mortos back over after his big loss in AEW?
I'm not aware of his big loss in AEW because I watch Ring of Honor. So to me, that doesn't exist. Clean slate. I love this match. This is my match of the night as well. And yeah, I can see this as a good way to get him over. I also feel like AR Fox came off looking pretty strong in this match too, because he got a good amount of offense in, regardless of how creative it was. This was a great showing for both of them.
Andrew, do you want Taurus back, or is Beast Mortos finally growing on you?
I actually
Wait, they're the same person?
No, it's all John Cruz.
John Cruz all over again.
Yeah. I actually kind of like where they've taken him with the Beast Mortos, because he feels like he's a little angrier, a little darker. He feels like they're going more with the monster thing. As when he was Black Taurus, he was more like a power luchador, you know.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, this match I thought he looked phenomenal in. I loved just the way he got angrier and more vicious. But like Jesse said, I was super impressed by AR Fox. This was my match of the night until the following match, and then they tied for match of the night with me.
Really?
Yeah, this was a really great match. I loved it.
Mikey, you and I have talked to Beast Mortos for quite a while. We know a lot about where he came from and what he's been doing before he came here. We didn't think he'd actually change his name or anything else, but were you kind of fangirling like I was to see our good buddy AR Fox in there and taking it to him?
Of course. Shout out to AR Fox, homing to the channel over here. I'm happy
Jesse, what's
that
going on?
I don't know what's going on. What is happening? Anyways, I'm super happy to see AR Fox on ROH television. It seems that any resentment or hate that AR got for the All In last year situation has finally died down a little bit.
Someone's going to have to clue me then with that offline.
So, short story time. So AR Fox was supposed to team with Swerve Strickland at Wembley last year, but because he didn't have a passport, he couldn't go, and so Christian had to fill in that match at All In, and so Tony Khan was not happy with AR Fox, so AR was kind of off television for a little bit, and when he got back on television, he was being squashed a little bit. Yeah. He was being jobbed out, but it seems that that's over with. So that's where it is. But as far as my thoughts of this match, I really enjoyed this. I am also in the same boat as Andrew. This was my match of the night until we get to the match that happened afterwards, because then that turned into my match of the night. But I love the presentation that we're using with Beast Mortos, because, again, the rule is any ROH talent that makes their way to AEW land is always going to get squashed and jobbed out. However, it seems that Mortos finds himself in an interesting position because, yes, he lost to Darby last week on Collision, which was a really great match, though. Darby had to earn that victory. But then this week, Beast pinned Mark Briscoe in a match. So I'm like, and commentary on Dynamite actually acknowledged ROH and the fact that Beast Morthos is undefeated in ROH still. So I'm just like, what is happening in my multiverses of madnesses? But this match was great. I loved it. Morthos always impresses me. And I love that he's leaning into the more, aerial parts of Luchador instead of the power base when he was Black Taurus. And I mean, come on, you can't hate AR Fox. AR Fox always brings it for me.
The selling is on point for everything too. He really knows how to make his opponent look amazing and while also looking strong. We then go backstage, and you know what? We were worried because MXM had gone up to AEW and had basically been roughed up by FTR and a couple other things, but they're back and they're reestablishing themselves. Do we believe them that they're going to be down here kind of running the tag division while we're also having AEW stuff going on?
No, we do not. I speak for everyone except nobody but myself. No, we do not believe they're going to get yanked up to AEW again because of how quickly they got over in Ring of Honor. Goodbye.
I think they will be in Ring of Honor while they're filming in the same place.
The classic of it's already on film, so even if we pull them, they're already gone. That makes sense.
Well, they're already getting pulled because they're on Rampage tonight.
I think they're just going to pull double duty while they can, and then
honestly, more MXN collection. I'm here for it. I'm intrigued because they're going up against Party on Rampage. It's going to be fun.
Yeah, but that doesn't help us who don't watch AEW.
Don't worry, I got you.
Andrew, if you were really curious, it's probably going to end up on their YouTube channel. You can watch it later. Anyway, we then get to apparently everyone else's match of the night, except for Jesse's. We have Anthony Henry taking on Wheeler Yuta in a technical masterclass. This I knew going in was going to have a lot of fun transitions, a lot of fun work in the ring. Did any of you expect that we would care for Anthony Henry so much, or even care at all about Yuta?
Boy, we're setting the bar really low for that, aren't we? No, this was not my match of the night, but I really enjoyed it. And the whole time I'm thinking, it's like, I'm watching Owen Hart versus Lance Storm right here. This is what I'm watching.
Wow. Andrew, do you feel the same?
Yeah, I mean, Wheeler was super impressive. I feel like he's matured a lot. Like, I feel like he's learned a lot from hanging out with the people that he's been hanging out with. And Anthony Henry stepped up. I think after this, Anthony Henry should go into the peer division and like focus on that, because I think that's a way that you can actually market him in a singles capacity, as opposed to try and stick him with someone else while JD Drake is gone. If you want to go with beef, have him be his hype man or something like that. But I don't think you need to stick him into another tag team and just be like, oh, well, your other tag team partner is gone, so let's make you into another tag team. I think put him in the pure division. He showed that he can have some awesome matches, and I'd love to see him have some pure matches and build him up to challenge the champion, Lee Moriarty, for that title, even if he's not going to win it. I was watching this match. Not only did he go for a lot of like submissions, grappling moves, almost all of the strikes, if not all of the strikes he threw, were either kicks or open-handed strikes, which means he wouldn't have to worry about the clinch fist in the pure rules. He surprised me how well he would fit in that division.
Mikey, speaking of Lee Moriarty and all that stuff with the promo afterwards too, do you feel like this might be the next person taking on Lee Moriarty for that title, or do we want to build him up, like have him do a Josh Woods run where he steamrolls through the division to get to Moriarty
and then gets forgotten about?
No.
He joins the Premier Athletes.
Okay.
Yes, that I'll go with. We need more people in Premier Athletes.
Lost my train of thought. Thanks, guys. No.
You got it.
Now I forgot what I was going to say. Damn it, Jesse.
Do you think Anthony Henry is going to be the next person to take on Lee Moriarty and should do, or do we want to have an like expansion of people in the pure division to have more pure division matches to lead to that?
I say let Anthony Henry be the next to challenge Lee, because outside of Anthony after this match and then Lee Moriarty, I mean, we could get a rematch between Lee and Wheeler, which would be cool, but I feel like Wheeler is now kind of like, all right, I don't have this pure championship anymore. I'm going to go be a tag team for BCC on the other promotions underneath the umbrella that is ROH and AEW. But I have to agree with Andrew. I think this became a match of the night because I know Anthony Henry in-ring work as a tag team person is great, but I feel that somebody told him behind the stage, be like, hey man, like you need to do great tonight, because if you don't, we don't know if we're going to use you. And he's like, all right, time to turn up and turn out, because Anthony Henry, I'm like, where has this been the entire year that we've been watching ROH? I'm like, sir, you lied to me, you were deceitful, and I'm here for it, because if this is what it takes for you to give me banger matches all the time as a singles competitor, I'm here for it. Like, this was fantastic.
So can I ask this of the group itself too? We bang on about people that have low charisma or don't have a lot of mic skills, but can then go in the ring. What sets Anthony Henry apart from, say, a Lee Johnson, who also has the same problem, but doesn't have the technical prowess as much as the high flying prowess? Why isn't he getting over like this?
I think it's because Lee Johnson is trying to come off as like the hero, as like he's trying to fill a different void with the way he's trying to sell himself, or they're trying to sell him, as opposed to Anthony Henry. Anthony Henry doesn't even seem like he's trying to sell himself. He's just, when he's doing things, he's not as engaging as some of the other people there, but it also seems like he's trying less. And I think his in-ring is also more violent, which I think in professional wrestling, we're used to the violent characters being more stoic. So I think he can get away with it in that regard too.
Almost like he's lunch paneling it, that type of thing. Interesting. Well, it's something to watch going forward. I agree with everyone that the Pure Division needs to be expanded like that, but I'd love to see more people than just those two as well, because that's not a division, that's just a twosome. Kind of like the twosome we got here in the next bit, which is the other parts of the Premier Athletes who haven't been forgotten about, taking on, and Andrew, hey, it was an actual tag team again. It was not, two random superstars. It was superstars. It was a squash. Everyone's face just dropped. I love this. Like, everyone's like, why? Tell me why. Ain't nothing
because
but
it's the team we would like to forget about.
You like forgetting about them, Andrew?
I just did not care about this match. There was the fact that most of the match you could hear the audience yelling out, "You suck!" Like, it was. I didn't like. You could have cut this and given Robin Renegade and Maya World an actual match.
Yeah. Give Dustin Rhodes 10 more minutes on the mic, basically, at the end of the show. Who cares? Mikey, I see you're nodding the same way though.
So it's really weird because there's an inconsistent problem that Premier Athletes are having here in ROH, because they lose, but then they also win, but the winning's not really that important because they win against opponents that don't necessarily matter. And that's no offense to their opponents, but like, they either get squashed or they win, but there's no stakes involved for it, which sucks. Which, kind of explains why it's just Ari Daivari and Tony Nese doing this, because Josh Woods is out here fighting at Bloodsport. Go check out that show, because that was highly entertaining. Josh Woods is like, I'm out of here. I'm going to go do something else for a little bit. Bye. I like the talent that's involved. The problem is that you had all this build up, and might I add, was like not the greatest build up of this whole entire new faction. And then before they got a chance to actually do some damage in ROH, you plucked them to job out on AEW against other trios and other tag teams on there. And so now we don't know what to do with them. I'm like, if you're going to start creating these factions like we think you are, based on what we saw in this episode and the seeds that are being planted, you got to make me care, because I don't care about the Premier Athletes as a faction, and having them in squash matches like this just to pad out the win record. Yes, I said pad out the win record. Does nobody no good anyways?
Waste of time overall. Honestly, we can jump straight from it to the promo after. Andrew, you alluded to this earlier. This is the follow-up on Anthony Henry's thing, where he had to deal with beef being soaked in his own beef juice as he's coming off of that. Again, Beef sweats. Yes, it is the beef sweats. Do we feel like him as a hype man would work better that way, or do we feel this is just kind of like spinning the wheel so that he fights beef? I like this is where I was confused in the evening.
I mean, I'm not really sure. It seems like it does seem like they're setting them up to be a team. And he could be super entertaining. Like I get the grains, the little seeds that they're planting for us for this. But like I said earlier, I'm kind of more interested in seeing Henry kind of be on his own and going more in that pure style, and see him go up against more people individually, especially people we can see him beat. And let Beef be, his corner man, his backup, his, silly cousin that he's kind of tired of, like, his antics, but, he puts up with them or whatever. They could easily go the trope of having Beef cost him matches and things like that, and then they get into a fight or whatever. They could go down the line where they're going to be partners, and then he gets over like this and like, begins to engage him in this stuff, and then they team up, and then there's something that happens with JD Drake comes back. But I'd be much more interested in seeing them work together, but not be forced to tag.
Anybody else have anything to add to that in general with what's been going on?
I just want to see what's going to happen with him.
I like Beef. It's stupid, but I I'm a sucker for fun comedy bits. Is it going to be the greatest thing on the planet? Probably not, but I don't care. But the fun thing is for me, because I am very familiar with Beef, aka, Gnarls and Gavin's work, that he actually can go in the ring. If they allow him to be in an ROH ring, I'm excited to see where that goes.
Let's hope that can be, and we'll see what's coming up with it. But speaking of coming back or jumping into an ROH ring, first off, we get to see Jacoby Watts actually get in the ring with somebody, which is surprising. And Nick Camarado didn't have to actually take his shirt off and get his ass beat. But everyone just start, because something's spinning around here. Something's getting hot and moving. Fuego del Sol is finally back in an AEW ROH ring, and he seems to be super excited to finally be back in the fold. Are we excited to see Fuego del Sol back without Fuego Dos, who we know where he is at this point?
With Juan Cena, right?
Exactly, with one chain.
I mean, this was fun. I'm super happy that Fuego got to win. The finishing combo with that, like, jumping off of Jacoby's back to the double stomp and the hidden tornado DDT was super cool. I've been lucky enough because Fuego has been wrestling in GCW, so I've been actually seeing him wrestle quite a bit. It's cool that he's back because I know it meant a lot for him to get a chance to be in AEW. And he, especially in the days of Dark and during the pandemic and stuff, he was one of the staples wrestling there. And so, having him actually get to come back after getting released is super cool. Even if it's just while they're in Texas, it'll be fun to see him wrestle and hopefully get to, like, rack up some wins and have some fun matches.
I mean, he is a man that can draw a crowd and draw a crowd in, as we saw this as well. Mikey, from our days of watching Dark and Dark Elevation, was it fun to see him come on in there and take on Jacoby Watts?
Oh, absolutely. I think that, and Fuego has said it in interviews once he got released too, that he felt like he didn't get a fair shake because, Sammy Guevara in interviews, like, Sammy put his reputation on the line, be like, you need to sign this dude. He's good. And he is that good. It's just that they didn't know what to do with him, and they just had him job out half the time anyways. But it seems that he's in a better space now in terms of, like, not being as bitter as he was when he first got released. And he's just naturally over as a babyface. I mean, hometown hero, everybody's going to love him. There's a plus. But being another luchador here in this great state of Texas and, fighting Jacoby Watts, it's a picture perfect idea. You literally have the face going up against a heel. Now, on the other side, though, while I was happy to see Jacoby and Nick Camarado on television screen, this goes back to what we've been saying of wasted potential, because we had that whole storyline of this Jacoby Watts like breaking Nick Camarado down by blaming him for every loss, and then they were gone for a very long time, and so now we're picking it back up again. So I would love to see them continue this. Let's develop some characters. Will they? Probably not. But it was nice to see that, oh yeah, Nick Camarado and Jacoby Watts are still here. I'm happy to see them. Now let's do something with those two. But Fuego del Sol winning made me super happy. Got to support the luchadors out here.
Jesse, are you waiting for the inevitable Fuego del Sol Nick Camarado match coming up in the next week or two?
It'll probably be next week or the following week. I don't know. I was excited about the Jacoby Watts, Nick Camarado words. It's been that day. And I don't know what we're doing with it anymore. I don't think they know what we're doing with it anymore. So the match itself was pretty good. Better than I expected it to be. But I would like to know what we're doing.
I think ROH still needs to figure that out as well. Kind of like what happened in our next promo, because we had basically a mem. We had all the minions with Athena backstage, and Billy's getting the cold shoulder. She's back to being minion, extremely long number, and Lexi again is top of the class. Is this the rehash of the Billy feud that we see coming down the line again, or is this kind of like Billy taking her lumps and then turning another darker leaf? What do we think?
I really hope this isn't taking us back to where we were before Billy and Athena had their match. I feel like they've both grown, especially Billy, so much since then. I just don't know where we're going, because we didn't get anything from him this week. Obviously, this promo was post Death Before Dishonor. So I kind of want to see where they're going. I would like it to be something where, this does motivate Billy to go more and try to get that title back, because she realizes like she needs that, or whatever the case is. Or some new way of getting Billy versus Athena. Maybe, and I hate to say this because I've seen what happens with other performers, but maybe the case is that, Billy does step up in a new way, is the one to dethrone Athena after she beats the record, and then Athena maybe goes up to AEW or something like that and goes after that women's title. But I want something new from this.
Mikey, in terms of this, if that's the way they're going with it, would you want to see it where Billy can come at it from the fact of she did everything Athena does and can't win that way? So why has she been following Athena when Athena's been lying to her that that's the only way to win, and then she ends up beating her to be the babyface champion going forward?
So I've actually been pondering this since Death Before Dishonor, and then seeing this here in this particular episode. And if I had my way, the way I would book it is, because as much as I would love to see Billy and Athena run it back again, there's a weird problem when you run back a similar match on the same pay-per-view, because remember at Final Battle last year we had Billy versus Athena for that title,
in case she came up short.
Yeah. So as much as I would love to see Billy and Athena too, I don't want it to be at Final Battle, because again, it's the same match that we got last year. So for me, what I would do is I actually would have Billy go after Red, try to get the title back at Final Battle, have a rematch with Red, lose, and then whoever Athena's facing at Final Battle, Lexi tries to help Athena, fails. Billy's there, and she doesn't help Athena, and that's what costs Athena to lose the title at Final Battle. So that's just where my brain's at.
So she loses the title, Billy gets her title back, and all of a sudden now the power dynamic has shifted.
Or, no. Billy doesn't beat Red. Red will beat her again. And I think you can have a feud without the title between Billy and Athena. Because that's the other issue that I've had with ROH, is that you're not building feuds outside of the championships. We got one with Diamante and Layla, and Layla Hirsch, but that one was built over maybe 2 weeks or so. So
we also have had stuff with Layla and Rachel Ellering and all that stuff too for a little while, but that kind of fizzled out pretty quickly. But yeah, I agree. Jesse, kind of you being the Billy Stark stand that out of all of us at that point, do you want her to Does she need a title, or do you think she can hold up a kind of a storyline her own way in that way with Athena?
See, I'm kind of torn because I feel like that feud between them wouldn't need a title. To Mikey's point, I think that's a brilliant way to kind of write that story in there. Jesus Christ, stop it. Yes, that himself. No. Lost my train of thought. ADHD kicking in. Okay. I don't think that they need the title for that feud. I think the feud will do well in itself without having the titles. However, I would like to see Billy with the title again. So I was not happy after the loss to Red Velvet. I still don't think that was the right decision. But I'm curious to see where this story goes, whether or not it's going to be, okay, Billy just needs to, tell herself, I just need to try harder and follow Athena more, or her to realize, hey, Athena's ways aren't really working as well as they used to. I need to try something different.
Makes sense. Speaking of trying something different, hey, let's put Brian Cage in a match one-on-one with somebody and have him basically tear the house down with Rocky Romero. Before we get to anything else, I'm going to spoil the end of it. We got a Steiner screwdriver.
That's a drill claw. Excuse me. It's been a drill claw for the last, at least decade. So
I'm going Steiner screwdriver. I'm going old school. But either way, dangerous move to pull off, and very well pulled off on this one. Rocky took it perfectly. Andrew, seeing Brian Cage kind of work his own magic the way that way instead of having to have 16 people around him, was this even more fun to see where he is as a performer?
Yeah, I mean, I think I first saw Brian Cage in Lucha Underground, and he had incredible matches because he wrestled a lot of singles matches and against people like Rocky Romero, who had a more high flying style. So I think it works really well with him as a powerhouse wrestler and like a base wrestler. Yeah, this was fun. This wasn't quite up there with my other two matches of the night, but it was definitely one of the three best matches of the night. And they just looked like they were having fun getting to go out there and just throw the best of what both performers had at each other. I think it may have gone a little longer than it needed to go because there were quite a few oh, this is it, not really false finishes. But they worked so well and so hard at what they were doing that it didn't bother me as much as it might have had this been a different match.
Jesse, your feeling seeing Brian Cage, who you've talked about in the past, as needing that one more gear to get into to be able to be over. Do you feel like this is a good step in the right direction?
Absolutely. I mean, I had a feeling he was going to win in this match going in, but Rocky Romero is I wouldn't say he's a jobber considering the history he has with ROH itself. I thought this was a great match, and I thought, again, they both looked good, kind of like the Beast Mortos and AR Fox match. But it was, I'm excited every time I see Brian Cage perform because it's scary, but it's like the horror movie scare where it's death without the commitment.
Mikey, Ian and Caprice also seemed to held their end up in this match as well. Do you feel like they added anything else to it, or was it kind of just standard patter from our lovely commentary team?
I think Ian and Caprice did a good job of, hyping up Rocky and Brian, because I feel like they are two workers that don't get a lot of recognition like they should. And I think this match even proved it to me, because Brian Cage to me, has everything you want in a wrestler. Yes, he's a big powerhouse, but don't let that fool you, because he also has hops and he can get aerial and acrobatic if need to. But on top of that, too, Brian Cage is a good hand to have in the ring. And that was kind of shown at the very end where he tries to go second rope, slips, but is able to hold on to Rocky long enough and, tightly enough so Rocky doesn't fall out of the ring. And then to recover into the finisher was just amazing to watch. Brian, to me, is so underrated. And honestly, if you have him still with the Gates of Agony, but you have Gates of Agony go into the tag team division and Brian in a singles division to divide and conquer, that's a potential story you can also tell too. And that'd be really fun, to have.
It'd be something to see. I don't know whether all of you were as kind of down about the fact that that was our last match of the night. Basically, it was a promo backed up by another promo with a schmoz. We got more from the Undisputed Kingdom saying the same thing again after winning, and the Infantry interrupt them to again call their shot, saying, I was a little confused by this because they talked about how they didn't win, but then they deserve a shot because of that. I don't know whether you guys were not following Carly Bravo's logic as he was trying to sell this to them.
So
yeah.
Go ahead, Andrew. I'll go afterwards because the infantry did clear it up by the end of the promo.
Yeah. Yeah, I was going to probably say the same thing that Mikey was going to say. It's that they had them and they were going to win, but because of interference, is the only reason that the Undisputed Kingdom won the matchup that they had with them.
And on top of that, too, the infantry also mentioned that currently they're 4-0, so they just need to win one more to get to 5-0 and then get to call their shot at the tag team championships.
I don't know. I felt like this was same pattern from Undisputed Kingdom. I don't know if this really furthered anything that way. And they were talking about the fact that they've had this for a year now. I'm like, have you? Because I have no idea that you've defended this. But
yeah, I mean, this was, for me, this felt more like it was interesting from the aspect of the infantry. I'm not quite there yet on this new angle with them, but I do like the angrier infantry. So I like where they're going and I want to see them build on this. And when we were talking about it earlier, if they do have a feud with Top Flight, and it could be a feud of who's going to actually get that title shot, since Top Flight have brought in, someone to battle Trish Adora, and then they have Action Andretti. Someone I'd like to see the infantry bring in to be, that counter to that would be AR Fox.
I mean, they've used it in the past. It would make sense. Jesse, do we feel like the Undisputed Kingdom is where they need to go, or do we need to have our infantry versus Air Force match first?
The pregnant pause served no purpose there. I really don't know because it seems like they don't know what they're doing with the tag division overall. So I think before we start pushing any more feuds, we need to take a hard stop knowing, okay, we need to fix this hierarchy. Who's actually where and what are we doing with them?
Like the Righteous, we have no idea where they are. We finally end the night with the spoiled. This was spoiled on so many places. Dustin Rhodes gets up to give what starts out like a retirement promo, but then morphs into just I'm going to do so much more promo. And I don't know. Did you all feel like he was stalling for time to make sure everyone was set in the back so that he could get Sammy Guevara out in the tightest pants he's ever been in?
I feel like he was just doing an inverse promo of what Evil Luno did 2 weeks ago.
Seriously. Okay. It was weird. See, the problem I had with this promo is that I love Dustin. I really do. The problem is he cut this similar promo a week before he fought Jack Perry, a couple weeks ago. And so and we all know he said in interviews that by the end of this year, he's probably going to hang it up. So it's just like, sir, I think, I agree. I think this was more used to make sure everyone was set up in their positions, and then we go from there, because you could have reduced this 10 minutes into 3, and then it still would have had the same effect, honestly.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, I think the part I do appreciate about this is the fact that they're trying to add something to this 6-man tag team title run that these three are having, tying in the legacy of both families. Ian and Caprice talked a lot about the different team ups that Dusty had with Von Erichs throughout his career. So I appreciate that they're trying to add to it, though there is a bit of me that's just we're just doing it for nostalgia's sake. I don't know if we're going to, I don't know how this is all going to fit together with Sammy Guevara and middle management, Uno, and the rest of Dark Order. It seems like that's going to be their big feud, which cool for the Dark Order, but I hope there's just something more to it, since this is probably going to be the extent of their run as the time that they're in Texas.
Almost like handing it over to Sammy Guevara afterwards once Dustin's done with this Texas run. That makes sense. Even though Sammy's also from Texas, so he's ostensibly and also a hometown favorite.
Yeah.
Jesse, did this do anything for you to end the night? Was this no? Okay, no, I got the no.
Yeah. No, I don't know why Sammy Guevara is on Ring of Honor now, and he'll be there for 2 weeks and then get pulled again.
So what we were told, and then go ahead, Mikey. You have it. So go ahead.
So What I'm about to say, I want people to take with a grain of salt because Brian Alvarez is like 50-50 in my record book.
Put up the thing beforehand, like the
Oh,
disclaimer.
yeah, absolutely. We're good. Just so what I'm about to share comes from the desk of Brian Alvarez, and his news reporting is 50-50 half the time. But just so you know, I want everybody to take this with a grain of salt, and this is all allegedly. So I don't want nobody coming for us. So, according to the news report from Brian Alvarez, allegedly, Sammy Guevara is actually going to be sticking around ROH for, well, as long as he can, because according to backstage reports, Sammy Guevara does not want to return to AEW television because of the fact that they try to keep sticking him with Chris Jericho, and Sammy doesn't want to continue to be a heel within the Chris Jericho void because that's all he's done in his AEW career is be a sidekick to Chris Jericho, and he wants to do a babyface run. So for the time being, until determined otherwise, Sammy looks to be sticking around ROH to do a babyface run for who knows how long. And honestly, you know, say what you will about Sammy personally, of the antics he's done before in the past. I like Sammy Guevara, and I do think that he's a good addition to ROH, especially if they allow him to, I don't know, actually be a face and not be a heel the whole entire time, because fatherhood changes people, according to Sammy Guevara. So, but I'm excited to see Sammy. I don't know if I like him being inserted into this storyline yet. I'm going to have to wait to see how the rest of this develop. But ROH has the prospect of having Sammy do awesome things in ROH. So I hope he gets utilized properly, and that way he could be happy. And, you know, if they do great with Sammy, that hopefully that means that, you know, when she's ready to come back, Tay can come to ROH and they do something like that too, because I miss Tay as well.
Imagine how easily they could do these things and so much more if they treated ROH like its own show.
You're extremely right. I mean, basically making its own little place in the sun that could be useful to them in that respect versus just playing it out like, oh, look, new shiny thing that's going to be here for 3 weeks. It'd be interesting to see if they build around even just like where they tape for as long as they tape, like this run is going to be this person. So they bring it in as kind of just a continuity thing. Might be fun to see. We got more than we bargained for, gentlemen, in this entire episode that came out. I need your empanada rating for the end of the night, starting with Jesse, going to Andrew, ending with Mikey. What'd you think of the new look ROH after that? Oh, what's up?
Oh, no, I was saying him.
Okay, perfect. Sorry, I just saw that. I saw this. I'm like, okay, Andrew has something to say. But what do we think of the new look ROH after Death Before Dishonor? Jesse, go right ahead.
Surprisingly, I'm giving this one a 6.5 because, I mean, aside the points that I already talked about, Robin Renegade got a win, so that, you know, gives it a whole 5 points right there. I enjoyed it. I was definitely at least entertained by this episode.
Andrew?
I actually give it a 7. I thought overall the matches were better than we've had the past few weeks. There were 3 matches that I thought were really good. Only 2 out of the 9 matches I really considered squatches. And it looks like we're building to a few things, but I'll be interested to see how long we actually can maintain that focus, especially once we move out of this location.
Mikey?
I also give this a 7 out of 10 empanadas for me for similar reasons that Andrew has stated. But I wanted to take it a little step further because what made me enjoy this episode a lot more too is from booking and from writing standpoints. There are potential feuds that they might be building to, which I would love, and all that kind of good stuff. And so for me, what I would love is that if once we get out of the Arlington, Texas, because they're pretty much done the week before All In. So we're here for like another 4 weeks or so. So I'm hoping that this ends up being what ROH needs to have this soft reboot and soft reset in order to be able to build feuds and, you know, actually have championship matches on ROH and not save them for pay-per-views. But I liked what I saw, and I'm cautiously optimistic to see where the next 4 weeks go for us. And who knows, you know, ROH can change my mind or they can continue to disappoint me. But this week, I really enjoyed it, and it gave me flashbacks as to why I liked ROH to begin with when we first started this.
all your points are salient. It makes a lot of sense. I'm also joining you in the 7 Club for all the reasons said before. It was a darn good episode of ROH for the first time in a while. We did it. We got through it. It was a longer one that we had there, but I was glad to jump back in with all you folks. Thank you for joining us here on our live stream here. And if you joined us afterwards, you're seeing this after we've gone live. Thank you for the paying the algorithm its blood sacrifice to join us here at our things as we go along. We don't just review ROH on this channel. We also review all the different feds as well. GCW being our newest big one, as well as CMLL.
So excited.
So please tune into those as we go along here. I know the TNA review is going to be coming out right after this.
Literally like in 20 minutes.
We're so excited to have you all here, and for those of you those of you who've been with us for a while, including Nick Teodoro, who sent us a little comment on there.
Shout out to the homie.
Gotta love it there. But tell your friends, have them join us every week, and we'll bring you our opinions and hopefully have some fun. Jesse, I'm sorry, we're gonna have fun. So basically, thank you all for that. And remember, even if you can't subscribe or join our Patreon, buy our merch, anything else, we ask one thing of you, and that's to stay biconic. And we'll see you in the next video.